going away August. Well, I be darned, Miles. The Cavs waived J.R. Smith.
They sure did.
Game
Only
2 of
about
the NBA Finals. What were we just talking about?
we were talking about how they should have waived him 2 years ago and why he's not going to the Lakers because LeBron James doesn't want to have to trust him in the NBA Finals ever again. For obvious reasons.
A chance to steal game 2 against the Warriors in a series.
Game 1.
Game 1. Game 1.
Had it. They had it. It was their chance to not get swept. He grabs an offensive rebound and looked like a 7-year-old in a Y-ball game right after halftime when they switch hoops.
Right, and you don't know which side
you're not quite sure. Yeah, you don't want to score on your own hoops, so you just decide to dribble around until the crowd tells you what to do. That was J.R. Smith, and now he's maybe as valuable as Carmelo Anthony in this league.
Wow.
Ooh, I hope something positive happens for Carmelo Anthony, though. I think he still has a place in this league.
Well, what about in China? How come he doesn't go over and dominate the Shanghai Tigers?
That's true. Like, actually, Chinese basketball was pretty much made for Carmelo Anthony.
Right?
You don't have to play defense. It's a short season. He could make huge money. And all you got to do is stand on the elbow and knock down 40 points a game.
I mean, where do I sign?
Game. Yeah.
Honestly, Miles, you probably could make this Chinese league.
It's tough, actually.
Well, they only take like one foreigner per team or something like that?
They take 2 Americans per team, yeah. Okay. And Pierre Jackson was tearing it up. He was averaging like 40 and 11.
Wow.
Crazy numbers.
Yeah.
Like good percentages too. Not just like jacking shots like James Harden, but like high percentage stuff.
What's that going to look like next year? Is it going to be my turn, your turn?
I think they're going to try. Houston? Like the way that I have it pictured, and I don't want to make it seem like I have it figured out at all because I have no idea what it's truly going to look like. But I think they're like dying to prove people wrong that this combo is going to work. But it's an 82-game season, and that's going to be really tough because they're both stat chasers. And they both like to have the ball in their hands. James Harden likes to ISO everything, like stagnant offense, and then create something from there. And he's one of the best at it. Like there's not very many people that can take 3 steps, have all the space that they want, and still be able to knock down a shot from 25 feet away. So he's incredible at what he does. But as far as like incorporating stars into a James Harden type of system, I have a really, really hard time seeing how it's going to work, especially with a player like Russell Westbrook who can't really shoot the ball.
I think we're not looking at the human aspect not close enough, because if there's one person that could keep James Harden in check per se, I think it's Russell. You know, you and I ran college track together. You and I never really had any beef, and you and I were never really superstars at it. But if we joined a semi-professional running league later one day, and you happen to blossom into this half-marathon gazelle who was winning all these races, you know, and I kind of did the same, and we re-met on a different team, except you knew that you were the better one. You had the longer distance. You had the better kick. You were just an overall better runner. And if it went to your head a little bit, in this example, you're James Harden, maybe the success, you know, without a ring has gone to your head a little bit. Who better to bring you back down to earth? Who better to grab you, pull you aside in the locker room, and be like, bro, what is going on? You were never like this, and you've changed, bro. You're this, you're that. We got to play defense. You're 20 pounds overweight. What are you doing? You have to get back. You can't just switch on the big and then, you know, And you have to cut. What are you doing standing out here and catch and shoot? You have to cut and set screens. When's the last time Russell's cut or set screens?
I would have thought that Chris Paul would have been the guy to keep him accountable, though. Like,
So
as far as like cutting and being a floor general, I thought it would be Chris Paul. That would be the best option for him.
So then, is that more on James Harden or Chris Paul? Because there were times where Chris Paul clearly couldn't beat his man 1-on-1 or, 2-on-1. There were times, and so is it just like a respect thing that James Harden needs to respect somebody telling him that he's wrong at times? I mean, I kind of think Chris Paul is just a complainer, and you look back at the LA Clippers time. You look back at he forced his way out of New Orleans. I mean, maybe David West should always thank him for life for getting him all that money, but maybe Tyson Chandler that too. But other than that, like, he never won anything. Who's he to say what's right? He may have been.
I think his tact is really bad. Like, for how good of a point guard he is and how good everybody says he is as kind of a true point guard, where he's, I guess, as much of a pass first point guard as you would find in the league today. Still not really a pass first point guard, though. And his tact, I think, with other players, this is the perception that I get just from watching him, would be really bad. I don't know how much fun it would be to play for Chris Paul. Like, you see the way that the conversations go when mistakes are made, and then you look at a healthier team, probably a better leader in like Damian Lillard or even Steph Curry, and you see that like players aren't afraid to make a mistake. They don't want to make mistakes, but I think everybody knows that mistakes are going to be made, and how your leader, a captain, reacts to those mistakes makes a huge difference in the chemistry of the game.
Whereas Damian Lillard would say us and we. James Harden kind of says you and me.
Yeah. And I think that he wants to kind of like push that blame onto other people, but I feel almost the same way about Chris Paul. Like, he knows what he's supposed to say, but he still is kind of has that selfish mindset. I feel like Kyrie Irving is kind of turning into that. Although Kyrie Irving is obviously way more talented.
And with that, still the same ability. But I think I heard Jalen Rose say something interesting about Chris Paul. It's like, to be that size and to be successful at 6 foot, you have to be able to be at the right spot on the floor at all times. So having that court awareness and just being in his position, just being in the NBA at his size in general, he's had to be in every defensive rotation. He knows 2 passes ahead on what the defense should do and how the defense should react. So it's like, he may not physically be able to do that, but maybe he does have a couple of good points as the game progresses, and he may see some things that maybe other people don't see. Having said that, like you said, James Harden can take 3 dribbles and 3 steps and nail a 3 in your face. So, I mean, does that really matter at that point?
Yeah, I think the blame has got to go both ways to a certain extent. Because I also think James Harden has a great deal of pride in what he does.
The real question is, what's it going to look like in November when they have after the Rockets have won 13 games in a row? Maybe they go on a 3-game losing streak in November and December. It gets real cold, and they have an argument, and Russell goes at James. I think what worked in Toronto was Kawhi is like one of the first zero maintenance superstars we've seen. And that allowed the team to kind of go through, like, they already had gone through internal battles throughout the playoffs, right? And when you add a Russell Westbrook to an already volatile Houston situation, it's not like, I don't know, I just don't see how their mutual pasts can benefit them and bring them closer together in times of adversity.
Well, their mutual past has kind of flipped, where it was Russell Westbrook was the obvious rising superstar, and James Harden was a backup, a sixth man,
running the
with
second
a great
unit
deal of potential.
with a
Yeah,
smile on his face. You got your money.
yeah, he
Shut
was.
up. You get to run the second unit. It's my ball.
Yeah, thrilled to death about it. And then he got his own team. He got a taste of what that was like. That's why he left, was to control his own team because he felt like he was ready to do that. Turns out he was.
Kyrie
Now,
not on the same. Not the same.
not the same. But now, just to like all of a sudden want to put those two guys back together, I predict that this team has a quick start. Because initially, this chemistry is going to be based on, hallelujah, we've got two of the best guards in the league, and we've already played together, so we've got all of this figured out. I guarantee that they don't. I still think that a Mike D'Antoni system is going to ultimately like be the end of the Houston Rockets. I think Russell Westbrook works better in a D'Antoni system, but a D'Antoni system with James Harden jamming up the half court is not going to work. So I'm thinking like post All-Star break is when we're going to start to see like Houston start to wear down, and that reality check starts to hit where they're like, turns out we don't actually have everything figured out. I think the teams in the West after the All-Star break are going to start to separate, same way they did last year, where it was like the top 13 teams in the West were within 5 games of each other. Something crazy. And then after the All-Star break, those top 8 teams pulled away. There was like 2 or 3 stragglers left, and everybody else fell off. I think Houston is kind of going to be one of those teams that's like an OKC was this year, where they're like struggling to hang on to that playoff spot. I just don't see how this is really going to work. Given what they're going to have to play against every single night. Because it's not like a powerful guard backcourt is anything new in the NBA now. It's almost mandatory.
Right, because bigs are so like nullified.
Yeah, I mean, the Wizards had Beal and Wall. Incredibly talented backcourt. They had a talented front court. They had like 7 or 8 guys. They had an awesome group, and that was a huge fail. Why? Because not everybody was on board. John Wall wants his. John Wall wants to do whatever he wants to do off the court.
Boston.
And doesn't want anybody else to worry about it. Boston. Fantastic example of a disappointing team with an unbelievable roster. I mean, the Golden State Warriors didn't even win a championship this year.
Wow.
I think it's going to take a great deal of chemistry mixed with the talent, because every single team in the West has talent now. The Sacramento Kings are actually looking really good.
Yeah.
That was kind of a random thought that jumped into my head, and then I threw that at you.
No,
sorry.
I think Luke Walton can definitely turn. I mean, that's what he was hired to do in LA. Take over this young team and kind of put a Golden State work ethic, that championship mindset. What does it take to develop ingrown talent into a championship roster? What pieces do you need to add in terms of veteran presence, like an Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston, David Lee, the Australian New Zealand center, who was the number 1 pick out of the Bucks in 2005? Forget his name. Bogut.
Yeah.
Well, how did I forget Bogut? So it's like, obviously they had Vince Carter through there in Sacramento. It's not the same dysfunctional group like it's always been. They didn't draft Jimmer Fredette. They drafted the De'Aaron Fox. They traded for Buddy Hield. They turned DeMarcus Cousins into Buddy Hield. You want to go back and grade a trade? That's a good trade for Sacramento. And probably not a good trade if you're the New Orleans Pelicans. So they took a shooter, Justin Jackson, out of North Carolina. Marvin Bagley, your boy, your guy, Marvin Bagley, which coincidentally, I just saw an article about his brother who is in the Sacramento prep school circuit, and he might choose Arizona on a side. But Marvin Bagley might develop into one of the best bigs in the. I mean, I can see him being better than Jared Allen next year. I could see him being better. He's already better than a Mo Bamba. I think he's kind of looking like a walking 2010 guy to me, especially if he can face up a bit. I don't think off the dribble he'll be able to develop into like a Kevin Durant type of athlete, nor should we expect any one of these 7'11" guys. But I mean, if you have one of these Giannis, KD, Marvin Bagley guys on your squad, what does that mean? It means you have an unfair advantage in terms of skill and length, and they don't make those every day. Skill and length always wins, and especially when you're a big man and you're going through that first rookie year hurdles. I think Marvin Bagley is going to be great. I mean, I almost kind of wish Phoenix would have had him, but nevertheless, it's like if you want a big, Sacramento is in a good spot.
Yeah, like the biggest problem that I have with Marvin Bagley is kind of his IQ defensively. Like he has all the effort and everything and great timing when he's going up to block shots and everything, but he's a second late on everything. And he tends to kind of like fall asleep, just like being in his man's chest and being a down low defensive presence. He's got to be like middle of the paint, and you got to be aware that you're standing in the paint for 3 seconds. He just seems to like lack a tiny bit of awareness defensively. And then on the offensive end of the floor, he seems to like tunnel vision, where he's able to like create double teams and everything else, but he doesn't seem to quite know how to take advantage of when he gets double teamed. He doesn't seem to know where to find that open man. And also when he's driving to the bucket, like he's so athletic, he's able to stretch the floor. He can't shoot particularly well, but I think he's actually going to fix that. I think we'll see like a much better shooter going into this year, at least in the mid-range game. But then if he's able to like stretch out into that mid-range and drive, he brings in other defenders from around him, and he's not able to find those cutters. And I was watching video of him like missing open cutters, going to the basket for easy buckets. So I think that would actually take his career to a different level that maybe a lot of people wouldn't even really notice. They'd just be like, wow, Marvin Bagley's playing really well. And I think it would show, like, I think the Kings would really start to stand out if Marvin Bagley started playing like that, because they've also got Cauley Stein to play the 5.
No, he signed in Golden State. Cauley Stein signed in Golden State. Yeah.
For real?
Cauley Stein is a Warrior. For real.
I didn't know that.
So, I mean, speaking of all these California teams, I have the LA Lakers roster pulled up. I know it's kind of taking a hard right, but I wanted to see if we can't play a game called Who is the Best 5 on this team? Obviously, goes without saying the 3 foundational pieces are on Kuzma, LeBron, and AD. But I mean, 4 and 5 is arguable on who the best players on this roster are. Candidates include Quinn Cook, Avery Bradley, Lance Stevenson, DeMarcus Cousins, Danny Green, Rajon Rondo, JaVale McGee, Dudley, Troy Daniels, sneaky LeBron fit Troy Daniels, Quinn Cook, or Pope. I might have to say that's the game. So if we want to, I mean, Rondo, Stevenson, McGee, the rookie, Danny Green, Troy Daniels, DeMarcus Cousins, Quinn Cook, Alex Caruso, Pope, Avery Bradley. I think you're looking at maybe a McGee.
I mean,
is McGee better than DeMarcus Cousins?
Yes, I think so. I mean, maybe not better, but I think he fits the style of play with Anthony Davis and LeBron James and Rondo better.
See, I don't know. I don't know about that. I think a healthy, motivated Boogie fits well with Davis. If not, their mutual playing together. Although DeMarcus was kind of like a 2A, like he was a real option, and I doubt he'll be that. I don't know. It's just a lot of big slow bodies with that lineup, right?
Yeah, I mean,
LeBron
I see Anthony Davis as being able to move. We've seen LeBron be able to move. I mean, he can be up the floor in like 2.4 seconds.
Can he
if
though?
He wants to.
If he wants to, but when is he going to want to in the playoffs? I mean, are we talking about?
I don't know.
They got to get to the playoffs first. We're still talking about regular season LeBron in LA.
And I kind of think that this team already thinks that they're there,
which they're not. We're trying to figure out who the best players are besides those three. It's like, I'm sorry, this isn't Miami.
It has to be Rondo. In my mind, it has to be Rondo. Is he
going to get the ball?
Because they don't. He better. Otherwise, this team is not going to be successful. And I'm not saying that like Rondo is the only option for the Lakers, but at this point, he is. Quinn Cook, to me, is a backup guard to Rajon Rondo. Rondo has won a championship. He's playoff experienced. He's played with all-stars. He's played with big egos. He knows how to make other players happy. He knows how to get Anthony Davis involved because he played with him already.
Right. And it's clear that Anthony Davis's happiness is probably the most important. It goes, Anthony Davis being happy, winning a championship. So this is where we have to be this year. We have to make this guy the face of the Lakers. We have to make him happy. That's why we brought back DeMarcus Cousins. That's why we brought back, like you said, Rondo. Because we need him to re-sign in LA. Because he hasn't done it yet. And we need to show him we are able to build a contender around him on the fly because we don't have any assets. He can still go to the New York Knicks. So
I think that would be a mistake. I think LA needs him bad enough. I think they need to show it.
Who needs who more?
Ooh, good question, actually.
The Lakers need Anthony Davis more. How is that not wrong? The Lakers.
Oh, the Lakers. Are you talking about Anthony Davis or Rondo?
No, who needs who more? Does Anthony Davis need the Lakers, or do the Lakers need Anthony Davis?
Oh, the Lakers need Anthony Davis way more.
Okay.
I think there's 29 other teams in the league. Well, 28 probably. That would be like, yeah, we'll take Anthony Davis.
Right.
There's so much competition for players now, like the amount of money that they're able to make, that the Lakers are no longer really like the hottest game in town. They're not even really the hottest game in LA, to be 100% honest.
Well, I mean, Kawhi showed that, right?
Yeah. Pat Beverly re-signed with them, and he, I think, had an option to go to the Lakers, had an option to go to Dallas. He had a few options and was like, you know what? No, I'm going to stay with the Clippers.
Oh, the Kings offered him a lot of money. Yeah, that's a player I think that would have made that team over the edge.
I actually like the fit of Beverly in Sacramento, but I like the fit of Beverly pretty much everywhere.
Right. Even in Portland, kind of.
Might have been able. Oh, man. Yeah, he definitely worked in Portland. I think he could have flipped around the Washington Wizards. He could have whipped that team into shape. Probably the Milwaukee Bucks would have got a championship if they had Pat Beverly.
Man, you see Giannis out there talking about his MVP and talking this, talking that. Don't call me MVP. I am not the MVP this year. I'm going to win the championship in Milwaukee. Bro, the clock is ticking. I mean, Anthony Davis never stood up there and said, I'm going to bring a championship to New Orleans. He never went on stage and said all this stuff. Is it kind of a blowback if it blows up in Giannis's face?
Yeah.
Or is this Bucks GM so good that he said no to 28 million for Brogdon, who missed all year. He said no to Mirotic. He said yes to Brook Lopez. He said yes to Chris Middleton, whom he drafted. This guy's smart. This guy knows what he's doing. He knows Pat Connaughton's a steal. And I think with a couple GMs being in the top echelon, you have to be able to trust, or it's all about Brandon. He goes to the Lakers. I don't know. It's so hard to tell these days.
I don't see Milwaukee Bucks as a serious contender.
Wow.
This is 2 years in a row that I've seen Giannis, and he got better. He did get better. But I see his skill level like start to catch up with him. Like you can tell he's only been playing the game since he was 15 years old, 14, however old he was. His effort is way above and beyond what most NBA players are giving in the regular season. And that's why he was the MVP. He led his team to a number 1 seed in the East. He deserved it.
Every single night.
I'm not trying to take away. Yeah, I'm not trying to take away his MVP at all. I would have voted for him as well. But when it got to the playoffs, I think the playoffs should have a huge, huge impact on the MVP race. I think it's crazy that the playoffs, like, it's just regular season, and then we get to watch as players flop James Harden in the playoffs consecutive years, and we're still going to consider them for the MVP. That's not a valuable player.
I have a question.
So watching Giannis, yeah, go ahead, yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt your whole Giannis point.
I mean, I just see Giannis as like this guy that he started getting double, triple teamed. Same point with like Marvin Bagley, where he didn't know what to do with it.
Yep.
He found out that all of a sudden he couldn't play bully ball, lower the shoulder, and just plow through 3 people and go up over his left shoulder like he always does. Regular season, teams are going to let him do that. Refs were letting him do his Giannis 5-step Euro step, and he still couldn't get to the rim. I mean, he did it every once in a while, but his scoring was so up and down, and it depended on what was going on. He's still fantastic in the fast break, unstoppable there, but teams were able to like slow it down, get into the half court, and pretty much render him useless because he's not skilled enough to really create for himself in the half court. And that's a big problem. I don't know if he'll be able to fix that in a year's time, especially with how competitive the East is now. So I don't see them as a contender.
All those things you just said, a big man with good size and enough physical prowess and athleticism to do things on the court that nobody else can do, but lacks a skill, reminds me of Ben Simmons. So it's like, man, who's more likely to leave or force their way out, I should say, because it's not like they're just going to leave in free agency. It would be a trade. On one hand, Giannis is one of the best players in the world and would command a king's ransom, so it might be the best for him to just leave in free agency. But although he might do a sign and trade, and that negates that. But Ben Simmons has Rich Paul as his agent, so he might just be a Laker one day anyways. And he did sign his 5-year max extension. But like you said, these guys aren't going to get their skill fixed in a year's time, right? Mm-hmm. You said Giannis won't. It's not going to be next year. Ben Simmons, I don't even know if he's working on this jump shot now. So it's like you're projecting these guys out a couple years in advance to see what their peak might look like, and without this dominating skill, there's a real ceiling on them. But if you're Philadelphia, you can't bet the mortgage on Joel Embiid because the foundation's got a crack in it. So on the other hand, Ben Simmons is a guy who's moody and he needs. It seems like it's just a little eccentric at times, and he doesn't want to be the best at times, and he doesn't. he just, wants to be one of the best players in the league, and that's fine. But I don't know. I don't feel good about it. I don't feel good about. But on the other hand, it's like, who do you build around? What the top 10 players in the league? You got to put those guys up there. It's just not everybody is.
Philadelphia has a really interesting, like a really interesting thing going on. Like I know what you're saying about Ben Simmons kind of being that guy that he seems a little bit hard to trust as far as like loyalty to the 76ers. I think last year so many people were trashing on him that had to get to him. And he was trying to find confidence like anywhere that he could that wasn't around the 3-point line. I mean, he actively avoided the 3-point line because he didn't have any kind of confidence from 24 feet from the basket.
And
he's another one of those.
Some of his shots, and they don't look good. His jump shots don't look good.
No. He's not shooting with confidence at all. Like, he's holding the ball, he's aiming it, he's doing all kinds of stuff that's just weird. Like, it shows he's not comfortable shooting the ball, and every time he shoots it, he knows it's not going to go in. You can't be a great shooter like that. Steph Curry can shoot it from the locker room, and he thinks that shot's going in.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his kind of confidence that's out of this world. I don't see Ben Simmons as being able to lead a team until he can hit a three. Because come the playoff time, that's when it's really going to show itself. And it did. Ben Simmons became sort of an obsolete piece on the floor. Or all of a sudden teams were like, okay, we can't let him get in the fast break because that's where he's actually effective. He's a freak of nature at 6'10", moves the way that he's able to move, and he can Euro step. I mean, to be that light on your feet. Yeah. Fantastic passer. I think he has a high IQ. It's just that skill.
And
he's not able to spread the floor.
LeBron. He developed a jump shot when some said he couldn't.
Mm-hmm. And LeBron is honestly like, he's not a consistent shooter. I don't think he ever will be. But he has that. He's just got that switch that he can turn on.
Yeah.
He's a flat competitor, and he's confident about everything that he does. So I'll never not trust LeBron from a 3-point line. That's the kind of player that he is. And yeah, he turned himself into that. I remember that being a huge debate was, is LeBron James ever going to be able to develop his jump shot? I actually think he should watch a lot more Kobe and a lot more Michael Jordan. I think he could play into his 40s if he figures out a mid-post range game. A mid-range post game.
Yeah.
Or Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony was fantastic at it, but he's not nearly, he can't move around like LeBron can. He became such a liability on the defensive end of the floor, and that's why people don't want to touch Carmelo, and I don't understand that, because in the regular season, the defensive end of the floor does not matter. It really doesn't. Especially in a second unit. Like second unit regular season, and maybe it's because Carmelo doesn't want to play second unit. That actually could be a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Is Carmelo doesn't want to swallow the pride to actually like get a spot in the NBA and admit that, okay, I'm a little bit over the hill from what I was when I was in Denver.
Like Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
He didn't want to come off the bench in Memphis.
And I think these guys just need to, I mean, Carmelo can literally like pick his team, make $1 million, and do what he does best, and be valuable to a championship caliber team.
But not now. Nobody wants him
now. I think
if he got in shape and he decided I'm going to play defense, he would probably get a shot in Portland's roster. I mean, it was just last year that he was on Houston to start the season. It's only last year.
Yeah. He's been playing the whole time.
Well, we'll see.
I can't tell if it's like an effort level defensively, or if he literally can't move his feet like that.
Yeah, anymore. Just because he never took care of his body, probably when he was in his 20s.
Yeah, like he looks like he's
Oh, he
moving
didn't get
around
the
like an old
best.
man
Yeah.
because he's only
Denver.
36.
What about Denver? What about a reunion with Denver? I mean, you talk about a defensive unit that could kind of hide him defensively and he can make shots with.
I like that. I think anybody that Carmelo would potentially play with has to have like a big presence down low. Like if he gets beat, they got to have a big presence. I like the idea of playing like, especially with a second unit like Bol
What
Bol.
about in New Orleans to have him as a mentor Zion?
I think that's a fantastic idea as well. If Zion can develop like a mid-range post game,
Actually, I've seen Carmelo
watch out.
teaching somebody like jab step moves, and I'm like, oh my god, this guy actually knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
You talk about a guy who could use angles, body weight, and just shiftiness to get where he needs to go on the court. Carmelo Anthony was amazing, and like you
I
said,
put
that
him
turn.
up there. Yeah, like I put him up there with Kobe and Michael Jordan as far as
Yeah,
that caliber of mid-range game. I'd
better than
probably put
McGrady.
him. I don't know. I guess I'd put
I
McGrady
think so.
in that conversation as
I
well.
think he's better than McGrady.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. I
Talk
think
about peak Carmelo in early New York, Denver, maybe Denver, probably Denver when he was most athletic, 26.
yeah, when it really started to show, like when it became his go-to, I think is when he went to New York and it seemed like he slowed down.
It seemed
And
like it, but he didn't.
he gained weight though.
Right. Okay. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Like he
Yes.
got bigger. And then all of a sudden like figured out a different tool and he's so good at using his body to create space.
And
And the
that's when he
timing,
figured out.
yeah,
Yeah.
like the timing and everything is so incredible to watch with
And the
Carmelo.
decision making, he makes
Yeah,
decisions fast with the
yeah.
ball in his hands.
I've like hoped that Carmelo Anthony would figure things out since he left Syracuse.
Yeah.
And I said it from the beginning of his career. I was like, no, this guy won championships in high school. He knows how to win. He won a national championship in Syracuse. He knows how to win. This guy's an NBA champion. And I couldn't have been more wrong.
What's the difference
And I don't know
between
why.
James Harden and Carmelo Anthony?
Usage rate. um
That was a good one.
that's a good question.
I mean, because I'm trying to picture what the end of James Harden looks like. I don't even know what that is supposed to mean in 10 years, 20 years, who knows? Hopefully he plays until he's 90, but it's like you talk about a guy who used to have it and who dominates the ball, and we think, oh yeah, he'll just be able to just move off ball as he ages. Oh, we can just do the. It's like once you make over $100 million doing what you do, it's like, why would I do anything but that? Why would I do anything but be Carmelo Anthony? Why would I be anything but James Harden? I'm not going to be Tim Duncan. Why would I do that? I'm not going to be Tim Duncan and be so grateful that Kawhi is Finals MVP during my 5th championship. I think LeBron is actually being like Tim Duncan in that sense. LeBron would be happy if AD was Finals MVP, let me tell you, or if Kyle Kuzma stepped up in the playoffs and did something incredible. But I don't see James Harden and Carmelo Anthony as these kind of guys.
No,
and yes, I just did compare Tim Duncan to LeBron James.
He's a 5-time NBA champion, okay? I see. That's a really good point. I never actually really thought about kind of the future of James Harden as it relates to Carmelo Anthony. But I think you're actually right.
Especially guys who don't take care of their bodies or really like they should. That's why I'm really concerned about Joel Embiid.
I can't say for sure, but yeah, it doesn't necessarily look like James Harden takes care of his body the way that he should. At least not like LeBron does. That's why I say like LeBron should be able to play into his mid-40s if he's smart about it.
Which I think he's trying to be.
I do too.
He wants to play as long as he can. I think he looks at Tom Brady and kind of sees that and is like, dang, I think I can do that with basketball. Be the GOAT of basketball at 42.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, he's so big. He has that athleticism and that body style to be able to control the game without being the best athlete on the floor. Like, without his original
He's
speed.
He's already played the third most minutes ever, though. Ever.
Yeah, but he's also like, if you look at the minutes that he played last year and even the year before, like, he was walking for most of it.
It's true.
I think they said like 70% of his.
But how many of those minutes were he
like
was carrying a whole offense in Cleveland and in Miami?
Well, playoff time, like 48 minutes a game, he was carrying an offense. That was unbelievable.
At 23 years old.
Yeah, he was definitely going ham from the time he was like 18 to the time he was 28. Like, the first 10 years of his career, he was hammering. So I'm not saying that he wouldn't.
That's
have
like buying a nice Subaru and putting like 300,000 miles on it, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
In like the first 5 years you go. You just drive cross country a bunch of times. You go to college, you come back home a couple times. You go see your brother's wedding in Vegas. You drive the whole way.
Yeah, drift in the snow a little bit.
Exactly. You go mudding, sliding, and then it's like, whoa! I need to replace the transmission. Whoa, what's this?
And I think that was kind of like last year for LeBron, where like he had a very, very minor injury and missed 15 games. Where I think like 10 years prior, he would have been like, no, I'm good. I think he lost like a tiny bit of drive, but also gained a little bit of intelligence where he's like, I'm not going to fight this. I think he saw last year, he's like, this team's not winning a championship. I'm going to cruise it out. I think that might have been a smart move for his career, athletically. I think last year was like like what he did last year. Not that like the Lakers are his savior for his career, but yeah, like he took last year really easy.
Weird. It was weird because he had an obligation to the league and to everybody to be like, well, LeBron's the best player in the league. He can't not play. If he's good.
And that's what everyone kept saying. Yeah.
He can't not play. What do you mean he can't not play?
LeBron not in the playoffs? Basketball. Yeah. That's what I kept saying.
Shut it down. I was like, no, shut it down.
It's impossible to have an NBA playoffs without LeBron James.
Well, we did it.
It's not possible.
Kawhi took it over and silently.
Kawhi took advantage. Yep. LeBron needs to get.
First time they turned on the silent TV.
Yeah, LeBron needs to grab the league back and like take control of it, or just hand it over. Throw the keys to somebody else.
I mean, LeBron. Shaq even swallowed his pride. Shaq was like, "Yeah, I don't care. I'll come off the bench in Cleveland. Sure, you'll have me, Boston. Let's go. I'll help you guys out."
He lost like 30 pounds when he came to Phoenix because he was playing in a Mike D'Antoni system, and they're like, "Well, we're not going to have Shaquille O'Neal just dragging ass all the way down the court. Like, you got to be able to run," and he did. Yeah. He like got in shape and made it his mission to like play in a D'Antoni system.
He like was really Steve Nash. He was like completely bald. He completely had no facial hair in Phoenix, right? He was just like thumb.
Yeah.
Right.
It was weird, yeah.
Man.
But I mean, he won extra championships because he like swallowed his pride and was able to realize that he was getting old, and also that the NBA changed and that he wasn't as young and athletic as he once was to be able to like adapt to a new NBA.
You see, every time I see Zion, I think of Shaq. It's like, what would Shaq look like if he was 6'8"? Pretty sure it'd be like that.
Yeah. That's dead on, yeah.
It's like I
don't think Shaq would ever be that athletic, but
no, it's like a weird Shaq / NFL lineman, defensive lineman, like, you know, those Julius Peppers, you know, Ndamukong Suh, like JJ Watt. Some of these guys are just like 280, 6'8". It's like the same as Zion. Like, he should be lining up against a 300-pound lineman trying to push his butt off but he's doing that on the basketball court. He's a big.
But to be able to jump the way that he does, it does not make any sense.
No. And that's what makes him special. And it's like along those same lines, we're talking about LeBron taking care of his body. We're talking about what can go bad with a Carmelo or, even a Shaq losing 30 pounds later. I mean, Shaq never really dealt with that. I mean, I guess he did get injured quite a bit. So it's like with Zion, how important is like this new way of keeping your body and monitoring and hiring someone explicitly for your nutrition and for your how important is that for New Orleans to get right now?
Oh man, it's really
because he wasn't doing that at Duke. He's probably just eating at the cafeteria. Who knows?
Probably. I mean, honestly, like I remember being 18 years old and the thought of like nutrition was there, but you don't really think about it or focus on it. You honestly don't feel your body slow down for anything until you get to that point where it's a little bit too late. And all of a sudden you can't go back and like change life habits. Somebody needs to like, take over, make a diet plan for Zion. There's so many things now that help athletes recover. Like, I mean, they've got the cryotherapy. They've got those, what do they call it? Photobiomodulation, that laser therapy beds and stuff like that. They've got all kinds of things that enable athletes to be able to play or should enable them to play. Like Mark Cuban was talking about it, like the technology and the staffs that NBA teams have, facilities, everything. Like players should be able to play into their mid 40s. And it's honestly kind of crazy that we haven't really seen that. Like Willis Reed was probably the last one. He was 44, I think, when he retired. Like John Stockton back in 2000, he was 40. And he had the highest NBA efficiency that year, like per minute, at age 40. And he said he had like 2 more years left to play probably. And it was just like his family got in the way. I think 20 years in the NBA, I guess will do that if you've got a family. But then, I don't know, I think Steve Nash could have made it a lot longer too. I mean, he always had back problems, but I don't know. He still made it till he was like 38, even with back problems.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of like this, just like, oh yeah, you turn 40 and you retire. That's what happens. I guess Vince Carter is kind of he's a 90s guy too, though. I mean, like 42.
Although I don't think he signed yet. Has he? He'll get signed, though. He'll get signed. He's still one of the best.
He's been in the league longer than he hasn't. And he's swallowed the pride and been like, I'm not going to chase a championship. I'm going to help young guys.
Is there?
I don't know. I think that's really valuable. I hope this generation like plays into their 40s. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a new subject change. I was kind of thinking outside the box here. I'm trying to think of like who's going to be the next Pascal Siakam this season, because like most improved player, kind of you're looking at somebody in their third year going on that contract, that first extension. So we're going to be looking at the class of 2017: Jason Tatum, Markelle Fultz, Alonzo, Donovan Mitchell, Kuzma. Maybe like a second-year player like a Miles Bridges in Charlotte. I mean, because that's a team that's just like wanting somebody to take over from Kemba. Like somebody needs to take the reins in offensively in Charlotte. Or is it going to be an Aaron Gordon who averages, who goes crazy and averages 22 and 10? Like, I don't know. Who's going to be this most improved Victor Oladipo breakout candidate this year?
I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to give a biased answer first. And say
those are the best.
And say Hassan Whiteside. And I say this because he really hasn't been in a healthy situation like in the NBA since he broke out of the G League and went and blew up in Miami. And then he was sort of like unhappy all these years, but still posting like impressive numbers. like I said, 17 and 14 was the peak like 3 years ago. He's still really young. And I think like moving forward, he's going to have all the hope in the world playing with a team like Portland. They were just in the Western Conference Finals.
I don't know. I kind of think his replacement has a better chance. Bam Adebayo. Because it's clear that Jimmy's going to need somebody to kind of step up. And I think Bam has a better is like just younger. He's more athletic than Hassan. I think you're looking at him at a smaller NBA, and he's going to be able to switch on the perimeter better. He's going to start. We don't know if Collins is in this 2017 class, and what if he,
that was actually my first thought. Was Collins.
He gets a little bit bigger.
And I think that he's going to continue to get better.
Turns into like a Pau
I don't
Gasol.
see him as. Oh yeah, I definitely think that that's possible. I don't think he'll like impress the entire NBA so much. I think people would notice Hassan Whiteside from like a league-wide standpoint. But I also think that Lonzo is going to have a breakout year. Maybe not like a most improved player, but coming from LA, it seems like that's the trend. Like where you leave the Lakers, or even the trend of leaving LeBron James leaving you, whatever the situation.
Yeah.
Players tend to have like breakout years after playing with LeBron and after playing with the Lakers. And Lonzo's coming from both. And I'm not trying to dig on LeBron James and say he's a bad teammate or anything like that. But playing with the best player in the world is difficult.
So you're kind of looking
coming from that situation.
Keep going. No, you're right.
I think he's gonna have a breakout year.
Well, you're just looking at this award. I'm going back to 2010. Kevin Love, Ryan Anderson, Paul George, Dragic, Butler, McCollum, Giannis, Victor Oladipo, and Pascal. This award, and then you're getting into the Aaron Brooks, Danny Granger, Hedo Turkoglu. But lately, this award has been kind of a who's next of the NBA. And I kind of think Lauri Markkanen from the Chicago Bulls it's a big market where that's been deprived of winning. And if you give any kind of 500s resemblance and you have one all-star, it's going to be Lowry. He's the best player on the Bulls, and he's been the best player arguably since he's been a rookie. And I think just by the third year, you figure it out more. Your third year in anything, you figure it out. Like I'm going into my third year of being an engineer, and it's like, okay, yeah, I kind of know what to expect on a day-to-day. Like I know what I'm going to get myself into. I know what I can and can't do. And I think for an NBA player, your first round, you're a rookie and you're figuring it out. Your second year, you're seeing if you can improve. In Lowry's case, he did improve. Somehow he got better. He got bigger. He got stronger. He got hurt, yes, but when he came back, they played so much better. And you just kind of look around the pieces around him. Yeah, I don't think Zach LaVine's the best player in the league, but Wendell Carter is a year older, right? They have a Chandler Hutchinson, who I actually think is a great piece. He was great as a rookie from Boise State. I think he might be the Kyle Kuzma of that draft. And I've said that. I'm not sold on Kobe White as a point guard, but I mean, he was the best available at the number 7 pick. Why not? Let's just try it out. He may develop into something. I did like his game, but it's a question of getting Lowry the ball, getting him open threes, getting him post-ups, getting him stronger, because he can do the rest. He's a Dirk Nowitzki kind of player. I really believe that. I mean, he has such a natural feel for the game. He speaks English well. I just think he's next.
What do you think about Doncic?
For most improved?
Going into his second year, yeah.
Man, I can really start to see him opening up a perennial all-star case. Because he has James Harden athleticism, and I was just listening to Bill Simmons, and he said about Doncic, and I really think that's or Zach Lowe on Bill Simmons. He said maybe the last 10% of Doncic is figuring it out athletically and dropping that last 15 to 20 pounds and really just a couple years of plyometrics under your belt and a couple years of diet. Maybe that unlocks the last 10% of him. And I think that's scary to think about.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, he needs to turn himself into an American athlete. Like, everything that made him great at what he is now is what he did from like Real Madrid when he was 15 years old.
He probably
and winning
needed to
EuroLeague.
bulk up when he was 15 playing against real men. He probably needed to eat as much as he could, like a Kevin Love, banging bodies down in the post. But it's not the same game in the NBA.
Oh, it's really not. It's really not. And the fact that he actually adjusted to it so fast really surprised me. I think that was my biggest concern, was seeing like, yeah, he's a EuroLeague MVP, but we've seen this before where EuroLeague MVP signs a 2-year contract in the NBA, and all of a sudden he can't deal with that little bit of different motion offense where it's pass, isolate, pick away, where the EuroLeague game is like pass, run at the ball, set up pick and roll, set up 2-man game.
Would he
That's
have
how Euroball
translated
runs.
so better? So would he have translated better if he was in Phoenix right now?
I don't think so.
Because isn't Dallas kind of the perfect situation for him to translate?
Yeah.
With Dirk
I think
still
that's
there.
another point. Yeah, I think that's another really good point to make, is that there was something about Dallas that didn't have so much pressure on him, but was like thrilled to death when he showed up and came to play. Like the city of Dallas is pumped. I think that was a really healthy situation for him to be in, where I don't think Phoenix would have been the right option.
No,
I would have been interested simply for the fact of having like a EuroLeague type of coach and then seeing him come in. But it doesn't really make any kind of sense, like playing alongside Devin Booker.
even Sacramento, I guess Sacramento was really interested in him too, with Vlade as the GM.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Dallas was perfect.
Yeah. It's a proven city to win a championship. Mark Cuban knows he can put a championship roster. They still have the championship coach, Rick Carlisle, for crying out loud. Like, they don't tank. I guess they kind of did.
I mean, they are fairly consistent, though.
Yeah.
They're
they
not
grow
the San Antonio
talent
Spurs
and then they
exactly.
Pay that talent. I guess they didn't really pay Dirk all that much. They could have, but whatever, they did.
They paid him twice what he asked for.
That's true.
Which still wasn't like that much, but it was like a respect to him. What'd you think of Summer League?
I mean,
did you watch
after Anthony Simons got hurt, it was kind of like, okay, well, this is kind of like a G League showcase. I mean, you see when guys like Simons, they go to the G League and they just put up like 30 or 40, just casual. It's like, those are the NBA players. And Summer League's all about identifying those are the NBA players. And I think a Summer League is important for probably Daryl Morey, because he's going to be obviously scrapping these guys up and seeing who can actually play for zero money. And probably just him, honestly. Or New Orleans Pelicans, probably.
That's exactly what I was going to say, yeah.
And I think they're in the championship game tonight. I might be tonight, might be tomorrow. It might be tonight. I think it's actually tonight. I think New Orleans is in it, but it's like that Nickeil Alexander-Walker guy. He looked great. Jackson Hayes looks, oh my God,
fantastic.
He looks dominating. He looks like a guy that's like, wow, he's like what Collins could be.
Yeah, I was actually surprised. He was like getting after it, and he actually looks way more skilled than I thought.
He had a step back three. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, like his footwork is actually really
just the
really
fit.
Good.
The fit with Zion. Oh my gosh. A guy who could stretch out the floor and get those offensive rebounds, get those tips, provide a little length defensively. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I got
perfect. So he doesn't have to play the 5.
Yeah, I got really excited about Jackson Hayes and the Pelicans, like just in general. Like once they start playing with a true point guard, I'm curious to see what happens to them in this preseason.
It's almost like putting LaMarcus Aldridge next to Robin Lopez. Almost.
Almost,
not quite. Yeah, but you can't beat that dynamic duo. It's like Pau Gasol, Andrew Bynum, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Robin Lopez. There we go.
Speaking of the Spurs, Lonnie Walker looks really good too.
Yeah, he's another guy.
If DeJounte Murray can stay healthy,
first guards.
Yeah. Man, that backcourt of Murray, and Walker. I've been excited about that for like 3 years. Hopefully they can stay healthy and get on the floor together.
And then Derek White off the bench.
Yeah, like that with DeRozan and Aldridge, like those slow mid-range guys. I think the Spurs can put together another playoff run. Not saying they're championship ready or anything like that,
They're better than OKC, and they could probably beat out Sacramento.
And they're smarter than Houston.
I don't know. I still think Daryl Moore is a genius.
I don't know.
I think he's a genius.
I don't know.
He found James Harden off the scrap heap. Houston was going nowhere after Yao Ming. And he survived 2 owners so far. That's what always interests me is about Portland when they get a new owner. It's like, what's that going to look like? Are they going to like Neil? Are they going to be like, yeah, he's good? Or is it going to be like a weird team where they're trying to move it to Seattle?
Who is Portland's new owner? Did they figure that out yet?
I don't know, but I'm not sure if the family of Paul, Paul
it's supposed to be like
run it. His
Paul
sister
Allen's
or something.
Sister, yeah, but she only wants the Seahawks or something.
Right. So it's like, man, are the Blazers up for sale? I mean, if there's no owner, who's Damian Lillard going to complain to?
I mean, I'll take him. I'm actually supposed to meet Damian Lillard middle of August.
You are?
Knock on wood.
For what?
He's working out at the same facility.
Dang.
Powerhouse Hoops with Phil Beckner. So I'm supposed to be there. My trainer's like, "Yo, I'll get you a meet and everything else."
Wow.
Like, oh, sweet.
Wow. So do you have a media opportunity for him?
Hopefully that actually happens. And I'll pitch it. I'll say, "Yo, me and my boy are thinking about buying the Blazers. Like, if you're interested in investing, I know your contract now. 47 a year."
You're gonna buy the Blazers. Let's do it.
Yeah.
We actually do need to start a diamond business.
A GoFundMe page to buy the Blazers.
Oh yeah, I like that. Man, so I don't even know what's this going to look like in the summer moving forward. Now that summer league's over, are we going to have a summer league recap? Hopefully something else in the NBA happens, honestly. Hopefully something in Blake Griffin land or somebody gets traded or something.
Is Blake Griffin still with us?
I don't know. Maybe we can look at like college recruiting classes and just kind of like guess what it's going to look like. We can look at the next year's draft and guess what it's going to look like. But I think we've gone quite a bit.
Yeah.
All right, man. Later. Thanks for watching.